contained in my ideas are the passion of my reality. This is what is being expressed here. Contained in your ideas until you evolve to the wholeness of you will be the limited passion of your conceptual association with yourself. It isn't that it's not passionate. It's just a projection of your mind rather than an extension. What are you doing? Studying the passion of the thought forms that you brought to this gathering. And you sit in that passion of your own self-identification. What do we call that? A relationship. That's perfectly all right. That's what it is a relationship. What is a relationship? An association of conceptual thought forms that constitute your apparent reality. Do you have that? Let me do it this way for you. All of space-time is only a relationship, isn't it? It is not creative in the sense that it does not extend from itself, but rather continually reassociates in definitions of its apparent situation in regard to its own reality. That's what you're doing right now. And that's, you see, when we talk of relationships, we're not saying don't be relational. Well, that's what you are, Israel. I watched you guys walk in. I watched you today at the party, establishing realities between you and attempting to communicate what? The passion of your self-expression, like unto God. Being what? Creative. Okay? Somebody said, why don't we talk about relationships? Okay, a relationship is what you are. Now, you can get tangled up in terms of specialness and holiness if you're doing the Course in Miracles. The difference between specialness, a special relationship, and a holy relationship is only time. A holy relationship, each moment, is whole unto itself in its apparent perceptual associations. Okay. A special relationship holds on to an identity in time association and performs acts of existence in order to tolerate itself in relationship with its apparent conflictual associations that are outside of it. What did he say? Would you mind repeating that? Get that? There's a lot of love in here. The reason I'm feeling passionate and some of you are confused is that there's a lot of love in here. And you can't feel it because you brought in your pain and grief. So if you let go of your own conceptual associations of pain and grief, which are what your resentment and identities are with God, you'll feel real happy and you'll be very passionate. To the point of embarrassment, and then you'll reduce your passion because you've forgotten, here's the big term for you, and I'm going to deal with it at a top level and bring it down. The other subject that came up is, what about sexuality? Okay, everybody goes, uh-oh. Okay. Sexuality. All objective space-time reality is only sexuality. Okay? It's the necessity for limited association to express itself to a passionate conclusion of what it is, even to union with God. Stop reducing sexuality to having sexual ideas. All ideas are inherently sexual. Can you hear this?
Yes.
If the necessity of your passion is self-expression, which is what God is, okay, Sexuality is nothing but the necessity for the continuing perpetuation of yourself in association with your identity, by whatever means, by the passion of self-expression. Now, obviously, you've reduced it to a thought form, haven't you? What happens when you do this? You have passionate ideas instead of what? Being passionate ideas. You even limit God in His passion, which is nothing but creative purpose. And somehow you reduce it to sexuality, or the idea, the necessity for procreation, or the completion of the species in its limited thought form, rather than directing your passion to the creative purpose of self-expression. I guarantee you that there's as much sexual passion in drawing a picture as there is in copulation. It's you that reduce it.
Yes.
Excuse me, I don't mean to get so emphatic here, but that's a fact. The guy goes to a psychiatrist. His wife says, he says, doctor, he seems to be obsessed with sex. The doctor says, I'm going to give you a test. He says, you say the first thing that comes to your mind. He says, elephant, sex. I'm going to go with sex. Sunset, sex. Sierra Desert, sex. On and on, 20 words. He finally turns to the guy and says, does it occur to you that you're responding sex to every word that I say? He says, if you don't want me to respond sex, you shouldn't say sexual things. What's sexual about the Sahara Desert? Everything. It's a creation of my own mind and the passion of the realization of me.
Yes.
If you guys wonder why you can't hear this, you cut yourself off at the waist.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to this time. You fig leaf at this phone. You fig leaf. You feel guilty about the original sin, which was nothing. This is the whole Course in Miracles. The necessity for you to miscreate makes you feel guilty, so you won't direct your own passion. Jesus says you're very, very fearful, finally, of your mind, which is nothing but passionate creative association. How did I get into this guy? So what are you doing now? You're defining yourself by the necessity to create in your own mind. Okay? In some associations, it's held into what? A special relationship of self-identity and reduced to the capacity to retain in staticness that identity. Okay? When you come into new energy associations, many of you will express, you might as well look at it, this energy as sexual. It is. But remember, when we speak of sexuality, we are speaking with the capacity of union to God, expressed in the old, great, mystical Christian tradition of the uniting of a female with God. Literally a marriage to God. Okay? Are you comfortable with that? Ones who are fearful of your own passion. Okay. Now, this appears to be a direction to what you would term eros, or free love, or expressions of totality outside of the establishment of your own reality. On the contrary, I'm very certain that all self-expression finally is, in limitation, is only self-gratification. It cannot not be, because it's the necessity for the passionate assertion or attack or defense of the limited association. In that case, love becomes passion, becomes the passion of war, or the necessity to defend yourself. Is that different than the passion of love or what you got? No. No. Only in the form in which it comes into your limited mind associations. So indeed, this is a passionate undertaking. That's why we call it the passion. It's the passion of being dead and coming alive. It's the passion of birth. You see, it's the passion finally of seeking and finding the wholeness of you to assume or continue your creative function as you were created by God. Okay? Now, must you do that? That's what life is. The difficulty you have with your passion is the necessity to limit it to the focus of your self-identity based on the goal of cause and effect that you have established to keep your identity. You'll notice that passionate people usually become leaders because they are determined, if you look at this from a perceptual standpoint. You take a passionate general, if you've been watching this Civil War thing, who is not concerned about how many 10,000 men he kills in order to take that hill. That is expression of a passion, of a determination to bring about a result that he has in his mind. And many of you people will honor that as though somehow Robert E. Lee was not the murderer at Gettysburg. You'll say, no, he was a great general. Or all generals are defined as their willingness to create or to establish a goal they can complete at the expense of the association, because all limited association is attack and defense or death. Is that passionate? Sure. If Adolf Hitler stands up and arraigns 5 million people at the Reichstag in Germany, you want to see a lot of passion, go and stand there, and the next thing you know, you'll be going Sieg Heil. Or not be going Sieg Heil, and then you'll turn and become passionately associated with blowing him up. But you will find that association in you because that's what life to you is. And that's what life must be then. Everywhere you go then, you take your subjective reality, the perception you have of yourself, which is a previous conception in time, and bring it together to keep your own self-identity. And you will do it passionately. Or you will do it apparently dispassionately in a very passionate manner. Thought you were going to get me. No, so that's what a relationship is. Okay? Now here we are faced then with what you call special relationships, and we'll throw the word out for a minute. Jesus is a little more emphatic than I'm going to be with you, because I'm experiencing the emergence of holy relationship. Okay. How then can holy relationship, being whole in a mutual perceptual association, come about? Okay, if I am in a special relationship, or an association of thought forms of limited identity, which I've been telling you for 2 days really do not communicate, I'm simply surrounded by mutual thought forms that I hold in intensity, that you call a culture, that you call nations, that you call tribes, that you call family. Okay. No matter how I associate with that self-identity, that is, no matter how I expand special relationships by bringing in additional illusionary factors of perception, I cannot finally make them whole. Listen, you cannot make a holy relationship out of a special relationship. A holy relationship is your individual dedication to God and reality. Yes. In a very true sense, it can have nothing to do with the associated factors of forms that you have projected from you to form an association of limited identity. Is there a question on that?
Yes.
But what is it?
Yes, there is a question.
Okay.
As I understand the Course in Miracles, a holy relationship is an instant of communication of commitment between two people.
No, it's not. It's a communication with God that then causes a communication to two people, and you're very mistaken about that. You listen to me. There is no communication between people. This is the whole basis of the Course in Miracles. There is no communication going on here at all. That's the whole basis. It's not even real. You projected it from your mind. Two people is only your mind. Come on, guys. I'm not going to go back through that again. There is only your mind projecting the thought form. Now, if the other consciousness is projecting the thought form, you can live forever in time in your mutual associations with each other. You don't know where you came from or where you're going, yet you're going to maintain a separate identity and associate with each other. It doesn't make any sense, except to die together. How much sense does it make? All the sense it has to make to be justified in your mind as a separate entity. We are people together here. You mean there's 3,000 million separate people? You are perfect as God created you. What's the solution to this? Okay. How then am I going to solve this problem? This is all the Course really says. If I have intentionally established in my mind association a form of image constructed in my own memory, and am exchanging ideas with myself about myself. Can we communicate in a loving manner, answer the phone, have kids that love me, give me chemotherapy, I got cancer, pay my insurance and die with me? That's what you're doing. You call that love, and you can have it as love. You can have it as the passion of your determination to exist separate from everything in the universe. Here's how simple the solution is. It's so simple that it's startling. This is the whole Course in Miracles. Salvation is nothing but commitment to God.
Yes.
I'm going to say this once more, and if you can get it, it'll save you 10,000 years. Never mind this. This has never solved the problem before. You've been here for 40,000 years. How have you ever solved a problem in your mutual association? What happens? It's in your mind singularly, isn't it? You make the decision that starting at this moment and forever, you are going to do nothing but undergo the experience of doing the workbook of the Course in Miracles, and you do nothing else.
Yes.
Along comes another consciousness, and he says, what are you doing? He says, I just found total happiness. I'm letting go of all of this, and I'm going to go to God. He says, that's a great idea. I'll let go of all of this, and I'll go to God. He doesn't say, I'm going to study how you're doing that. That's not going to do him any good, because he's going to deny the passion of your assertion.
Right.
And then you can study together who's doing the best job of finding God.